Hello, everyone. I am Gloria from the GetCoin team. Happy Friday. I am welcoming you all to the session about solving real-world problems with Celo. And I want to take a moment just real quickly to let you all know that, first of all, this session is being recorded. So if you missed something or you want to rewatch it again later, that's perfectly fine. And you can find this session on the GetCoin Media channel on our YouTube channel. And there is a Make It Mobile Hackathon playlist. You can just go there. The session will be linked right there in the playlist. Second of all, if you have any questions during this session, please feel free to either drop it in the Q&A, which is the preferred place, and that way we can upvote the questions that you have. But if you don't want to drop it in the Q&A, you can still drop it in the chat. We'll be checking both of those, and we'll be answering questions as long as we go along within this discussion. So welcome, say hi to each other, let's get friendly in the chats, and let's go ahead and start that. And with that, I'm gonna turn over the conversation to Marco and Anna. Anna, do you wanna start? Can you please introduce yourself?
Definitely, yeah, happy to be here. So I'm Anna, I'm the founder of Corsali. If you've been in the Celo ecosystem, you might have heard of us as Toca. We're the same company, just kind of iterating on a new name. But we are a machine intelligence company. We make it really easy to leverage the power of machine learning. And a lot of that involves smart young people on their phones labeling data in emerging markets. And so that's how we're leveraging Celo. Essentially, we use Celo as an international payment system to pay our workers in real time. So they receive these streaming payments as they're completing work. To give you a sense of some of that work, I'll give an example of an advertising company that we work with. Essentially, they need to look at a bunch of ads of toothbrushes and know, like, is this a toothbrush head? Is this a toothbrush charger? And so there's someone there in Nairobi, Kenya, on their phone looking at an image and saying, hey, is this a toothbrush charger, a toothbrush head, and where is it in the image? And then they complete that task and receive a real-time payment in CUSD. So that's just a bit of background on myself and Corsali.
Awesome, thank you, Marco. Go ahead and go.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Marco from Portugal. So basically what we are doing is a decentralized anti-poverty system. The name is Impact Market. So anyone can see like data of all the programs we are running in our website. So basically what we are doing is to try to create anti-poverty mechanisms to the most challenging places in the world. So, for example, we are starting with UBI, that is, for those that don't know, is an unconditional basic income that basically is free money for everyone, kind of. But we are doing these in places that that almost no one else can reach. So we have almost 15,000 people receiving UBI. On average, they are receiving between 50 cents to $1 a day. To spend in anything they want. We are in places like refugee camps in Ghana, favelas in Brazil, starting now in the biggest refugee camp in Kenya, the biggest refugee camp in the world, that is in Kenya, the Kakuma refugee camp. We are in the Philippines, Cape Verde, Nigeria, Venezuela, a lot of people in Venezuela, and actually we are one of the few solutions that can actually deliver some money to people there. And that's it. They are trying to solve extreme poverty through blockchain, and most of the people we are reaching are unbankers. Some doesn't even have an ID, and most of them, this is the income that they are having now, especially during the COVID. So yeah, that's what we have been working on.
Awesome, great. And I guess I'm going to go back to Anna too on this one. It's going to go to both of you, but can you tell me how you started to solve this problem? So how you saw the problem and then how you decided to solve it and how you started with Celo?
Yeah, definitely. So I saw this problem actually when my last company, when we were going through Y Combinator, we're basically just trying to get data labeled as quickly as possible. We were training machine learning models to sort documents for government agencies. And so we were using mechanical Turk at the time. And if you wanted to have someone read something in English, it cost us about $3 to $5 an hour to kind of buy that labor essentially. And it surprised me that it cost so much. My mom's Philippines, and I kind of just thought like, hey, I feel like my cousin's friends would do this for a lot less and would be like very eager to do this work, right? I think in some ways it sounds a little bit tedious, but it's actually this knowledge-based work, and it's a skill that you can learn, that you can that allows you to move up in terms of the income that you're earning. And so that is when I kind of first saw this problem. We did some initial testing in the Philippines and in East Timor, and one of the big bottlenecks, this was a few years ago, one of the big bottlenecks was payment. So we were using mobile money at the time, and we were paying people. So essentially, we would need a bank account in each country. We would need to maintain API keys with every mobile money provider who's like the cell phone carrier is often pretty government owned and just political to engage with. And that was really kind of the bottleneck to scale. Like have these micro payments to pay the workers was not solved. And so kind of coming across Celo, I also was an engineer at Celo for the past few years, which kind of allowed me to see it really firsthand, and also to figure out like how could we actually build a solution that would work for these end users. And it requires that it works on a really low end device, right? Like most blockchain protocol, like you're not going to be running it on a $40 Android phone. And so that is one place where Celo really shines. And then, yeah, so that's essentially how we came across the problem and how we started using Celo.
Yeah, interesting that the problem that we are trying to solve also came from a previous startup that I still have. And interesting that without Celo, we could not do what we are doing. Most of the transactions are below $1, and we are processing like 300, more than 300,000 transactions and requests per month. So, and most of them very low amount. So that will not be possible, for example, in Ethereum at the moment. And also being mobile and having a stable coin already is like makes much more easy for us. But regarding the problem, so like 10 years ago, I started a fundraising platform for charity. So it's still going on, but this is a kind of a centralized crowdfunding. It has charity options. It helps companies to develop their philanthropy together with their employees. That's like the big part of the fundraising, right? So in philanthropy, in developing countries, we have some platforms of fundraising, but the problem is distributing those funds and where those funds are going. And if we have a centralized structure, we can't do that because we can't just put like a subsidiary in Venezuela to receive money and to give money to the people. That's not possible. So the challenge was always like in the transparency side, but not only is about how to provide that money directly to the people in the ground and then measure how it impacts the economy itself. And usually what happens is that the money goes to a charity and then they decide level projects that maybe they want to do that. There is a giant overhead on that. So what if we just take everyone out of the middle and just try to deliver that money directly to the people and then look at on analysis and see how they are spending it or how the volume, the transactions, that's creating actually an economic impact. So that's basically how it started. Philanthropy through traditional systems, making philanthropy that is transparent. So about 30% of all the philanthropy is lost to corruption or middlemen, or when you try to send money to developing countries, it's a mess. So that's kind of the solution for that. It's like a money distributing system that can reach exactly the people that need it the most. And we believe that blockchain, the potential of blockchain is exactly this one, is to reach all those people that are out of the financial system through a very simple way. So just a kind of smartphone, and that's it. That's all they need, and some kind of internet connection.
You both touched on, not only building for people who are in developing countries, but the benefits of bringing out the women. And I was wondering if you could go a little bit deeper on that. Like, how do you see the impact of what your project is with the people that you are developing it for?
Yeah, I think that similar to Marco, there are middlemen in this data annotation market. There are really unusual structures that emerge that we've discovered where many people don't have access to a bank account, and so they share a bank account and receive payment via PayPal to that bank account. And then the bank account owner will take like a cut of 50% of their earnings. And so some of the people that we work with, they can earn $5 an hour on Upwork. A common task for them is writing plagiarized essays for American college students, but they end up losing a lot of that to the bank account owner, to these other kind of intermediaries. And so the ability for us to directly pay the worker has just, basically cut out that intermediary who was, taking rent, taking 50%, huge, because they have that power.
Yeah. On our side is also a question of trust, and also to debureaucratize, so not to have so much bureaucracy around. Because, so in this case, basically what happens is that each community has a smart contract, and the money goes to smart contract and goes directly to the people. So if we somehow had people in the middle or intermediaries, like, we need to justify like where the money is going to go into that institution. That institution will have to declare it somehow, even if it's crypto, and then it depends on each country. So even using blockchain and having intermediaries will not be an optimal solution. And ultimately, what we want to achieve is to make this a public good, governed by the own community. So that's why we are working on a governance token, so we can kind of incentivize more people to participate. But also, we are working as well on fraud prevention and try to identify like some suspicious activity, because as we go to these vulnerable communities, like there is always people trying to create multiple accounts or having their friends, or we have also some criminals that are making pressure on those organizations to be added to receive UBI as well. So we are trying to put in place some kind of social validation mechanisms among the community themselves, so they decide who are the next people coming to receive UBI, or as they decide they trust them or not. And another thing will be, so when you send, so this way people so foreigners will be much also easier, because there is they see like the money going directly to the people, and this was not possible before, and they can see all the transactions as well. So there are several benefits that come with even having intermediaries on those countries will be kind of difficult, because if you have intermediaries, you have more players, and then it will be more under potential regulation or fiscal issues or whatever. So that's why we try to remove, even ourselves, we try to design it in a way that even if ourselves want to do something about it, we can't. So that's kind of the way that we want to put this in the hands of the community, and because the problem we are trying to solve is much bigger than any interest of a single entity or whatever. So that's why we are, the purpose of what we are building kind of requires not having intermediaries, not even ourselves.
I think that's beautiful too, because I think sometimes people as humans, we all have biases, and we don't really know like where those biases can come in and play, even like unknowingly. So the more that we can make and remove, people from interactions, it's helpful. So awesome. There is a question here, and it's from Alex. Alex asks, what is the source of income of Impact Market? Where the distributed money comes from? Is it just donations? Is it possible to leverage something decentralized tools to generate income like Euro forms?
Yes, great question. Yeah, so far most of the funds have been donated, and where some of those donors are validators of the Celo network. So basically, they are earning Celo dollars for participating in the network and to help, and some of those Celo dollars they are giving back to communities. And we are actually now working or looking at possibilities of, for example, donors just have to donate or to deposit and say, I want the earning interest of my deposit to go to this community, for example. And we want also that to be, so that's why we also are creating a token. So kind of you can donate. So the way you farm our tokens is by donating. Or you deposit funds, and based on how much interest is generating, you get also tokens. So we are trying to look at or having some partnerships with AMMs that can also, all the funds they are generating, if they want to give to the communities, some communities, they can do that through us. So, but for now, as we are more focused on making sure that the technology works and people know how to use it in those places, and make sure that it's as simple as possible. Identify this kind of fraud or attempts to fake the system, and so that is kind of our priority. We have been funded by philanthropists that also believe in UBI and don't want to see some results on that, because UBI is a very skeptical and a very discussed issue. Some people believe it, some people don't, but whatever, we just need to do something and look at the data and see if that actually works or not. And after, we want to create more tools to incentivize generating income to those communities. Other possibility we are exploring is using a kind of crowd lending, so people can just deposit their collateral. If you don't want to sell your Celo, just deposit it as a collateral. For others in those communities can request a microcredit of $20 or $30 or $50. So this way you don't have actually to donate or sell your assets that you want to hold for a longer time. And this way you are just kind of hiding them or putting them to work so others can benefit from that without you having to lose it. So we are looking at this kind of different ways to generate income to those communities. And interesting that those communities, for example, in Venezuela, is less than 50 cents a day. So with a large pool, we could back like thousands of people in one of those countries. But we are also looking for more possibilities and more solutions that could go on that direction. So if you guys are working on something like that, we are happy to learn more about.
Awesome. Yeah. And I mean, that brings up another point for me. It was like, you're both on, blockchain itself is new, but some of the concepts that you're working on too are just so forward thinking that they're very new. So I know that not every day is roses and there's a lot of challenges. In your spaces that what would you love to see solutions like built onto challenges that you're currently facing?
One challenge that I've noticed in just being a company that uses cryptocurrency, like we see ourselves as a Web2 company where crypto happens to be the best solution for payment. But it still ends up really complicating even just accounting, filing taxes for 2020. Like accountants don't want to touch, they're sort of like, whoa, why are you holding crypto, right? And so I actually think just more tools to make it easier to be a crypto business, whether it is like crypto accounting tools. I see some popping up like that, kind of tools to manage finances in a way that speaks to a traditional accountant. And there are just some almost like logistical problems there. The other thing that I think is missing in this is like an easy to use custody solution. And I think that it is scary as a business to end up holding this risk of, hey, we have these private keys. If we lose them, we lose our money. And there are like institutional solutions like Anchorage out, but they're kind of for a different scale. And so I think that I would love to see a crypto custody solution, just helping startups who are holding cryptocurrency.
So one of the solutions for you is come and be based in Portugal. There is no issues on that. Here is like crypto is like a potato, so it's quite okay for us to just use crypto for anything, and there is no taxes, there is nothing. So, on our side, there is no issues with that. some things that we would like to see developers in this industry. Well, still, we are seeing now some solutions built on cell phones, not smartphones. That's quite difficult, and eventually, all those people that have mobile phones, traditional mobile phones, will upgrade to smartphones. But either way, we kind of see that need in some of. There are some countries that we are not going yet because the percentage of people on those communities with smartphone is very, very low, and even access to electricity to charge those smartphones will be difficult. So because they require more energy, and sometimes they have just a small solar panel just to charge their current phone. So that's kind of, well, something that we would like to see more. Another thing is more about the identity and fraud identification or fraud prevention, but that comes with identity in the blockchain, but in a way that should not require traditional KYC or AML, because it doesn't work on those countries. That's something that we are also trying to fight. There are other projects like Democracy that are trying to look at ways of having the identification. So that will be interesting, that we would like to see in the blockchain space. But besides that, yeah, no, I think if we have those two, in our case, yeah, it can improve a lot.
Another thing that comes to mind is kind of connections between the decentralized world of cryptocurrency and the centralized world of like fiat currencies. There have been some projects like Katani Pay in Kenya that allows you to go, we use them to allow our workers to convert from their Celo dollars to mobile money that they can spend locally. But there's sort of this chicken and egg problem where eventually Celo dollars will circulate within an economy, and so you can just go and spend at a merchant. But today you need some way to spend. And so I'm really excited about projects in that space. I think that there is a ton of opportunity if people in the crowd are thinking about like what sort of company to start, what sort of project to build. I think that local off ramps to go between mobile money and cryptocurrency, or cryptocurrency and just something of value in the local economy has a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, we have been seeing like so on those communities where when we go initially, in order for them to trust that those dollars are actually money, we need to do a few cash outs first. Usually it's like the social organization in the ground that helps with that. In some places it's me just doing through PayPal to someone there that has a PayPal account, and then they then figure out between themselves. But what we are seeing is that there is a different reaction in the local economy as more people join, for example, in the UBI. So if it's less than 100 people, usually they try to cash out every time, or that's the only way that they can use the money. But as soon as we go to a few hundreds and thousands in the same place, so the dynamic changes completely. So that there is no more need for cashing out. All the merchants want to be involved because suddenly like thousands of people have buying power that previously didn't have. So those merchants is like there is a massive like income of dollars to fragmented through thousands of potential customers. So even like beauty salons and all the kind of the local merchants, they actually want to accept it. Also because usually dollar is better than the local currency. And actually, like those local start to provide cash out and charge a commission on that to their clients. But if they pay directly with Valora, they get a discount. So this like it's amazing to see how the things that kind of behavior change when you just spread like a lot of people with small amounts of money. They come together. They even like save some of that money to buy a smartphone for other people that they believe should receive UBI as well. So because they UBI, they save it for a while, and then like 3 or 4 friends buy a smartphone to give to their friend that So there is like amazing stories around that, and behavior changes a lot. So eventually we don't want them to cash out or to off ramp, but but it's at least a few times it's needed in order for people to trust that's money, and at least to have some kind of guarantee that if they want to convert it to the money they believe, they can do it. Usually that's the most important part, for them to know that if I want, I can. So after that, and they trust that's actually dollars. So after that, like it's much easier to see like adoption and people transacting like several times a day, which is interesting.
We've seen pretty similar behavior early on too, where people earn like 10 cents and cash out immediately, but then over time they start to be comfortable holding Celo dollars. Even sometimes people will invest in Celo, which is crazy because
Exactly.
many of the workers have not ever had a savings account before, and then suddenly like their first investment ever is a volatile crypto asset. But I guess that is the future. Yeah, I agree that kind of the off-ramp problem is just something that we have early on. But as the currency circulates more, people actually get pretty comfortable holding it.
Yeah, but for example, in Venezuela, we can't cash out. But what they say is like, so what are people doing with the money? We can see in the blockchain that it's not very active, and they answer like they are religiously saving those dollars. Like it's like they kind of lifeboat saving that they have there, like in its dollars, and they see like the inflation going higher and higher, and then and another thing cool about Celo now, and actually, well, usually we don't speak about blockchain. It's just an app that you receive dollars, so that doesn't matter how is it behind or beneath the hood. But it's interesting that people now, so Valora now allows you to earn Celo based on Celo dollars that you have. So it's a kind of a savings account when you generate interest, but that interest is in the form of investment. And that sparked a lot of things. That sparked like a lot of less need for cash out because more people outside of the community or even the community are interested on buying those Celos. So they are kind of cashing out and cashing in between themselves. And also they learned about saving and investing in a way that they will never do that. And these amounts they can never get it in any kind of bank account. So this is kind of sparkling like a lot of curiosity and interest and learning more about finance, learning more about this new technology, which is also an amazing thing because like if they learn about this, how to invest, to know better about crypto, maybe start looking at the industry, learning more, or even work on that. So it's an amazing opportunity for them, not only to spend that money, but to learn more about the new frontier to finance. That's exactly what they need. It makes me reminds me like in Africa they didn't come, or most countries in Africa they didn't go through landlines phones. They go directly to mobile phones. So it's kind of the same here. They don't go directly through bank or bank account. They go directly to decentralized finance, like to crypto, and because they have no other option. There is some of them they don't have even an ID. So like, or even if they have, they can't create a bank account. Or if they can create a bank account, they can transfer money outside or buy dollars or protect themselves. So like they are in a trap that not other technology can do that, and that's what intrigued them the most. How can I receive this money? Like it's free, it's open. I didn't have to put any of my ID. So this starts to kind of making them make more of those questions, and that's amazing to create a more excited and togetherness within the community, which is very interesting.
Yeah, we've seen a similar excitement build where initially people are very skeptical of cryptocurrency, and we've kind of moved away from framing it as you can earn crypto. People think, oh, this could be a scam. They really associate it with bad things, fraud. But then they start to see that it's useful to them, and they're like, oh, this is a great way for me to receive payment for my work. This is a good way for me to kind of have a bank account right on my phone. And then they start to kind of ask questions around like, hey, like, what is this crypto that we're holding? And
Exactly.
so it's been cool to see that shift in the way that they're perceiving cryptocurrency.
And they even ask, okay, how can I buy Bitcoin as well? Or is it possible to buy Bitcoin?
Yeah.
What is Celo? It's a kind of like Bitcoin. If you use, they said, okay, I got it.
Interesting. And Marco, at Impact Market, how do you guys think about which markets you prioritize entering, or kind of what are you looking for in a market that is right for UBI?
I like usually where is very difficult to go is where we try to go. So we are trying to enter like Morocco, Yemen, Zimbabwe, Mozambique. So the most challenging countries with the most where the people are in the most vulnerable conditions, where almost no one else can reach them. That's where we want to go. We want to go to places where like it's but but then we have been trying to go in a few countries that is kind of taking longer. But yeah, we are now entering like Kenya, but I think it's kind of uh, it's not so difficult. But there are some places we are already in Venezuela, in some of the borders in Venezuela that is very very difficult people to get money there or to do anything. Um, Yeah, but countries like Myanmar as well, Ethiopia, um, yeah, those places is where we want to go. It's like
Awesome.
where we are more needed. That is basically where
Yeah.
the dollar makes the more difference.
Huh. We should, I think, places where merchants have started already to accept the Celo dollar. Corsali, actually, we should follow you guys because then we don't have to. One of our bottlenecks for new markets is that we do need people expect to be able to take their money and spend it legally. And so we either require that there's a startup in the Celo ecosystem that lets them go from Celo dollars to mobile money, or that there's some kind of merchant support. And so it seems like many of the markets where you're working with that merchant support could be a good opportunity for people to be also earning from their phones.
Yes, yes, and you guys, what you guys doing is like it goes within our vision because we are trying to kind of solve poverty, but where UBI of the first approach. And that approach is very important for to build trust, currency dissemination, and kind of dependency somehow, because those people will be the only money. And but if you to thousands or even several hundreds, the dynamic changes. So it will be like the merchants looking to accept it because they cannot afford to lose so many clients. So yeah, you guys could follow that because what you're offering is kind of the next level of what we build. Is like now you can afford to buy your basic stuff. Here's something that if you want to put some work, that you can earn as well, and it's the same that you already have. It's the same monetary currency. It's the same everything. So yeah, we can start that in Brazil. Like we have like hundreds and hundreds of merchants.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great. We can chat more about that after.
Sure.
I had another question around how you guys decided to use Valora versus, like, I guess long term, how do you see Valora versus an impact market app fitting in terms of where people are their funds?
No, we don't want to go to that route of having a wallet on our side or saving any money or processing any money. And also because we want to decentralize it as possible, and we want to take out of the responsibilities we have everything related with transactions of assets or funds or whatever, because it makes us make it easier to go to those countries and operate there without anything, because we don't process the money, we don't receive it. Our app doesn't. Our app, on the only thing that does is send an instruction to Valora, and that's it. So in some countries we are using like an APK of Valora and an open source version because they cannot download Valora because of the UX sanctions and everything. But we don't want to build ourselves. We want to be a app that can operate in any kind of blockchain. And we are now on Celo because it makes more sense. We have been, well, that's the ideal blockchain. But eventually, our dApp can operate on top of other wallets or other chains, but never having the wallet on our side or processing the money. We want to offer like access to, for example, what you are offering or microcredit or other things, but using protocols like it's not us. It's only contracts speaking with smart contracts. So there's nothing that you can point to us. So it's also a way to prevent from some complications in the future. Also, we don't want to provide cash in, cash out, or whatever. No, we want to have partners already do that. They will get some benefits for providing. For example, on my previous startup is more about fundraising, but it's fundraising with fiat, and that's the kind of a mess every time we go to a new country. That's like very complicated. So those players can kind of fundraise, convert to dollars and sell dollars and send to the contract, and that's it.
Cool, that makes sense. Yeah, I feel like it is complicated to build a non-custodial mobile wallet, and just allowing Valora to kind of handle that. Have there been any issues around kind of non-custodial aspect where people lose their backup phrase or lose their phone in some way, and they expect to be able to reclaim it from a centralized entity?
Yeah, some people lost their money. We try to say, okay, this is kind of your holy grail password. So anything that happens with that, you can always access your account, regardless of if you lose your phone or whatever. But initially, when we said that, what happened was, okay, so they taken a photo or some friend took a photo. No, they tried to or wrote in a paper, but like people in the middle of a favela writing in a paper in English, well, maybe it's not the best idea. So some of them lost because of that. And then at a certain time they share it or allow others to take photos, so they don't lose among themselves. But then we needed to tell them, don't share your keys with anyone else, because then a few people were saying, okay, so there was less money here, there's less money here, or whatever.
Yeah.
So then, okay. So now we have to tell people, no, do not share that and store that. As long as you have those words, you are okay. But now people are because that's the only thing they need to know. And yeah, now they are understanding that they have to store it. But if it was like 12 words instead of 24, it would be easier. But yeah, it's something that people now understand that. But it needed some kind of telling them that do not share with anyone. If you lose that, you probably will lose your key, your account. But in this case, people noticed that after receiving, let's say, like 50 cents or $1 or $2. So they lost their account, and it was okay. I learned the way to recover. Okay, so next, then they tell the others in the community. Then okay, you lost your money. Oh, really? So then they talk with each other, and things go okay. Now it seems that it's working, and we are not receiving any more kind of support kind of tickets with that kind of issue. But let's see.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hard things about the non-custodial aspect is very empowering in the sense that the individual has full control over their funds, but it also is responsibility. And some of our workers have lost their backup phrase, those 24 words, and sometimes they've earned a fair amount, right? They'll lose $20, which is many days of earnings for them. And so, yeah, I think that it's still an unsolved problem in the ecosystem.
Yeah, but we don't want to custody too much responsibility.
We were doing a pilot with Mercy Corps, like a local nonprofit, and we had them hold a copy of the backup phrases, which is an option, but it's not as scalable. It can be kind of risky in the sense that there are a whole bunch of funds just stored with those phrases. So I think that some kind of social sharing around, you can choose 3 friends who can help you recover, could be an awesome solution to see in the Celo ecosystem.
Yeah, we are approaching just, guys, this is your only job. Do not lose this word. That's it. If you lose it, well, we put the responsibility on their side. Then they know I lose it, I messed up. I have to deal with the consequences and learn from this or teach others. They have to learn that like is the only thing. It's easier than setting up a bank account.
Yeah.
So like guys, please, like this is your learning job. So I believe that's a very difficult field because you need to find the threshold between like not getting too complicated on storing that with people, or maybe those people can get together against you, or finding other complex systems without losing the UX experience and UI. So yeah, we prefer this way. Like guys, just this is your job.
Just please remember, please do not lose this phrase.
I think it's going to be interesting in a couple of years. Like you said, when people on-ramp, we have two types of users, really. We have people who are on-ramping directly and like understanding that perspective of like, okay, this is my key, this is it, and maybe aren't used to the cycles of like, if I lose it, I can go to someone and give it back. And over time, it will tell us like how that develops versus people who are so used to every app having some type of phrase and like not having this type of responsibility over their C phrases per se, or over their passwords per se, So it'd be interesting where a group is really forced to really like have ownership over their C phrase and like how that's going to progress over time. There's a bunch of questions, and so I want to give you all an opportunity to answer them. And one of them that came up is from a survey, and it says, any development in considering people with disability, and they followed it up by saying disabilities like sight, intellectual, mobile, computer technology, visual, people with eyesight disabilities kind of adopting to this tech. So
yeah, this is a great question. So we've been working with Appen, which is a large data annotation provider that we've partnered with, and they have a few projects around helping people who are deaf to work on their phones instead, or essentially to complete work that require them to speak. And so that has been an interesting option that we've been exploring. The eyesight that you bring up is interesting. It's something that we've seen when testing Valora in the field, actually. Just the effort of looking at the small text on a phone can be really difficult. And it's something that I think is still an open problem in the ecosystem. So we, on the Valora side, I know they increased the font size and made sure that you could read it even if we weren't as good at being able to see small fonts or from a large distance, and you didn't have access to eyeglasses. Something we are seeing is that often people's glasses get stolen, and they should still be able to see that. But I really like that you're bringing this up. I think this is an important thing for the community to be thinking.
In our size, we have like more elderly using the phone. So people with more than 60 or 70 years old, that they put like the phones with a massive font size. And we just make sure that the app works and they know where to click and what to do, even if it's like just a button with a text in the middle of the screen. So, but besides that, we don't know of any cases that they have been used besides those people. Yeah, but yeah, it needs improvement.
I think too, one thing that we've seen is that people are just so much more comfortable on a mobile phone. And in some ways, I think with some of the expectations in the US, someone might think, oh, this person is not technologically literate. They can't type quickly on a computer, but actually they can type insanely fast on their phone. And they are like just this different style of like technology user that's much more mobile first and has kind of like leapfrogged past like a desktop computer, which to them is like, why would I use this? I wouldn't even write a college essay there. Like phone is all I need. And so I think it's also a question of like, actually people just have a different style of using technology. And we shouldn't see like, oh, you can't type quickly on a computer or you're not as good at navigating in a web browser on a desktop as being kind of as signaling that they're not qualified for digital work. Because I actually think that in many ways, those workers are just, yeah, they're faster on their computers. They're faster than me at transcribing a receipt on a keyboard phone than I am from like a ergonomic keyboard. And so that's been really interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I have a niece that's that type of person. She's just very, on her phone is very, very quick, but on the computer it's not. And I think she's brilliant, so it's great. We have another question up here, and it was just about the size of the teams that you work with. So if you could just give us some insight into like the size of your teams.
Definitely. So on the Corsali side, it's myself. We have a full-time Kenya country lead. And then we have an Android engineer who's working on the mobile annotations app that the end workers are using, and machine learning engineer who's building out kind of the machine learning infrastructure that's needed for many companies to be able to kind of have demand for that data annotation.
In our case, it's me. I'm kind of the entrepreneur. My background is in technology, but now I don't program so much anymore. Our CTO is Bernardo, that is focused on developing and the blockchain space. Also a functional designer, and then we have two more developers and two community leads that are kind of ambassadors, people within the company that help identify and expand those pilots, finding local organizations that are looking for these kind of solutions, partnerships on the ground. So yeah, we're still very, very small team, but I think that's what is amazing with technology. We will not be able to operate in so many countries so fast and reaching so many users with such a small structure without this technology. That's kind of also what fascinates me. In a centralized way, yeah, it will be like a lot of pain to do this. So yeah, we're still small. Hopefully, keep growing, but not too much, because the goal is to eventually make this infrastructure completely decentralized and deliver that to the world. And eventually our team will not be needed, or not so much needed.
One thing to add is we're actively hiring a senior Android engineer and a senior full stack engineer. So if you're interested, just send me a note. I'll drop my email.
Yeah, we are also hiring as well. So sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, if you, Marco and Anna, if you could drop in the chat ways to get in contact with you, that would be really helpful for the people in the chat now. And then as you're doing that, there's another question regarding, let's see, and I'm not sure if you know this one, but if there's any public digest on where Celo is most adopted in the world, that might be something we need to reach out to Jarrell on the Disc channel to discuss, or if you know of any insight of that.
You can, yeah, you can somehow get to that information on our website, because if you consider that we have around like most of the CUST addresses, you can see that most of our users are in Brazil, then Venezuela. So I would say that most likely the most people using Celo dollar are in Brazil. I'm quite confident with that. Doesn't mean that it's the most people using Valora or Celo itself. It's like number of unique addresses and transfers happening. It's in Brazil, in Celo dollar specifically.
Another resource is, I think, the Celo Hub. There's just kind of a list or resource that lists all the different projects on Celo, and you could see where those are operating as well.
In fact, Jarrell just did a talk 2 days ago on adding your repo to the Celo Hub. It was really informative, and it said exactly that you can see like the different projects and where they are launching them. So that might be a good resource just to have top of mind for anyone who is developing. Last question, let me find it. This question was, what do you think about decentralized cash in, cash out solutions? For example, the ones requiring 2 types of collateral or 2 times the collateral?
I don't know about that specific example, but what I would say is that any cash in, cash out solution that allows our workers to turn their crypto earnings into money they can spend in the local economy is great news to me. And so I would say that I'm very supportive of that project if they're able to, basically turn that crypto into something that can be spent locally.
I never heard about like decentralized on-off ramps for cash in, cash out. Yeah, that will be very interesting. I'd like to learn how that works. Yeah, that could be interesting. If somehow there is a sum where I can have crypto as a collateral, others can put fiat as a kind of liquidity, and so anyone can cash out to those fiats, and you have different kind of fiat money somehow being collateralized or being backed by crypto in a decentralized way. That could kind of work. I'd like to see that. I think that idea is interesting. Never heard about something like, but somehow with collateralization, and you have a bridge with a centralized account or a PayPal or something, maybe it could be possible. I'd like to learn more about that. So just reach me.
Awesome. Okay, and again, everyone, there are ways to contact both Marco and Anna are in the chat, so feel free to take a look at that and utilize that and get in touch with them if you do want to reach out or apply for jobs or have any other ideas that you want to share with them. And with that, I'll just leave with any last words from either of you two.
One last ask for the audience. So if you know any great engineers, I would love to talk to them, Anna@Corsali.com. The other thing is if you know any companies who are looking for machine learning in the sense that maybe they're actively hiring a machine learning engineer, maybe they already have a few people and want to make them more productive, I would love to talk to them. We can kind of find a way to create really great economic impact and also solve their ML problems. So those are the 2 asks. Send companies looking for ML our way and send great engineers our way.
Love it. Marco, do you have any words?
Yeah, it's just if you guys know any very vulnerable communities, like can be like local farmers or refugee camps or any kind of community that you believe that they are living in very vulnerable conditions, let's go. We try to give them free money somehow. Usually a good approach would be like a local social organization that you guys trust that address poverty in that location or that community. That will be the best kind of go in. But yeah.
Marco, me and you will have to sync later. I'm a first-generation American. My whole family comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo. And so
help us go there. Help us go there because it's one of the most challenging places to go. So Gloria, help us go there. We want to give money to that people, but it's so hard. That great challenge.
I feel like there's so many countries in the world that need, that are challenges, but it's great that we have people who are like you and Anna that are working towards solutions to not only provide some type of source of living, but giving them like simple jobs, simple work that they can do in order to have like a livable wage and have more equitable life. So I appreciate what you all are doing. And if I can help out in any way, please, of course, feel free to reach out to me. It's Gloria at GetCoin. And everyone who's building this week, like I hope that you're inspired by what they are working on, the problems that they're solving, so you can build solutions out there that are benefiting people when you're just being imaginative and thinking outside the box. So kudos to you all. And with that, I will end this session, and I hope you all have a great day.
All right. Thank you. Bye.